Are we going over the top, buddy? I had to turn my hat around for this one. This is the main fight right here. Man, UFC 281. Main event is Israel Adesanya against Michael Pereira. Pereira. Michelle, Michael. I don't know. They always, the Brazilians got their names. But man, this fight is, I feel like this fight we've been programmed for this fight since shit. As soon as Izzy started looking like untouchable in the striking, they were like, wait. I know he looks good. But there's this one guy who had his number in the amateurs or whatever the fuck in kickboxing, knocked him the fuck out. It's like it's kind of like shit when Vernon Forrest, RIP, had Shane Mosley's number. Like Shane Mosley was on the top of the world. Might have been undefeated at that time, 38-0, 35 knockout type thing. But he had this guy who just had his fucking number, Vernon Forrest, who beat him twice, and I think it was in the amateurs, once or twice. And then they fought in the pros and for the title, and he put it on him. And Vernon Forrest always said, what beats speed? Because Mosley had some fast hands, powerful, fast hands, but mostly a right hand, but very fast. What beat speed was a good jab. A stiff-ass jab. It sets off the timing, and that's exactly how Vernon Forrest did it, So he had his number. That's crazy. And I think a lot of people are thinking Alex Pereira has Izzy's number. And I honestly think that when this fight was first announced, I was like, holy shit, because this guy, they are kind of putting him like he is the boogeyman. Like this guy did come into, we basically, been following this guy because we know he beat Izzy, so everyone else, Izzy's kind of, point fighter or not, sometimes not the most fan-friendly or favorite fights, whatever, I get that. But it's not all nonstop action. Like, you want to see Anderson Silva do Anderson Silva shit. You don't want to see him fuck around like he did with Damian Maya, in Abu Dhabi. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to see all that. You want to see him, if this guy is that much below you, levels of striking or just MMA or UFC period, then take this dude out. Like, he's not in your competition. Wipe the floor with him. You know what I mean? Finish him, like, immediately. That's what I see. I always think that. So, like, even with Cannonier or whatever, like, I think Cannonier, a lot of it didn't pull the trigger, and obviously that has a lot to do with Izzy's, sense of timing and distance and using his range. But I mean, also it's just maybe he just didn't pull the trigger that day or whatever. So I mean, but I don't think we're gonna have that problem with Alex Pereira. Like, we had other people, like say with Izzy, like he had the reach advantage, he has the range against all these guys. Calvin Gastelum was like freaking sprinting at him with great head movement when they fought, and just coming up just as short, when he was throwing that left, just a little short. He didn't land his big signature left, the one that knocked out Michael Bisping, the one that, that he has the most power with. He was just a little short with it. He did rock him once. He did catch him and had him in trouble, and then he went for a takedown. That's where a lot of people were pissed off. But, and he had a great game plan. Like, Calvin Gastelum also has good boxing and good head movement, little underrated, I think, in my opinion. That's also coming out of Hoffa Cordero School too. I think he trained there. A lot of those guys. But hey, like what's interesting to me is the reach is not like that significant in this. I mean, if you look at the tail of the tape, they're both, Pereira's a couple years old. I don't even know when this tail of the tape was, or the age and all that now, if it's the same or not. But weight, obviously same exact height. And a 1 inch reach advantage for Izzy. 80-inch reach, which shit, John Jones still got 84 or some shit, 85, like fucking ridiculous. And Pereira's right there at 79. So, I mean, that's huge. Like, and he's tall too. Like, if you look at John Jones when he fought Gustafsson, his toughest fight up until that point, like, he had pretty much smashed everybody, all the legends that were around. He took out legend after legend. But the guy who gave him the biggest problem, where I still feel like John Jones did win that fight. A lot of people thought, Alex won that fight, and that was like his claim to fame, to having that close fight with John Jones. But I still feel like John Jones in the championship rounds, 4th and 5th, after he landed that, spinning elbow after he kept throwing him all fight, once he finally landed that, I felt like, he took over the fight from that point. Just on even just clearly points, I thought he won 3-2. 3 rounds to 2. I thought he was behind going to the 4th, and he was actually losing most of the 4th. So this fight, that the comparison I'm making is just because of their height. Like John Jones was basically big brothering everybody. He was like longer than everybody in that division, had the reach, and is the best at using it. Well, Izzy's kind of the best at using it now, and he's been able to do that with a lot of people. But as you can see with John Jones now having problems with what the fuck was that? Having problems with like Dominic Reyes and these longer fighters, Thiago Santos. These guys are just as tall as him and longer, like as the division as evolves and grows. I mean, you can see he's having more problems with that, and we're gonna see, man. This is a test. The only other big guy who Izzy has fought like that in the UFC was Jan, and Jan beat him. He was able to out wrestle him. That's the one thing too. Like, I think Alex Pereira has worked with John Jones a little bit, not like extensively or whatever, but he has worked with John Jones where he felt him. He's working with Dominic Reyes. He's also working with Glover Teixeira, who's, even though he had a brain fart in the last couple minutes or last minute of his last fight, he has a high fight IQ, great footwork, good boxing, great wrestling. I mean, grappling, period, jiu-jitsu, black belt, all that. So I mean, that's something that he's definitely going to learn from. And he's a big dude, and he hits hard, he hits a lot. So, and he's a great striker. He's a good striker, So I mean, training with like Dominic Reyes and who's fought John Jones even. So that's even something you could pick, and because there's always a comparisons of Izzy and John Jones. Like Izzy's like similar to John Jones, but John Jones has wrestling. Izzy doesn't. And I think John Jones would beat him because of that. He'd be able to manhandle him on the ground and elbow the fuck out of him if he wanted to. So, I mean, that's my opinion. But, could Izzy pick him apart on the outside? Probably. But as far as John Jones or anybody, really. But John Jones, I think, would be able to get a hold of him and be able to catch him with something and just manhandle him in the clinch. So we don't know what kind of game Alex Pereira has as far as wrestling or jiu-jitsu or just ground attacks, period. Grappling. So, I mean, that's an unknown a little bit. We've seen Izzy, like, he's a little tricky. He's, like, pretty good. He's a pretty good takedown defense and all that. But we also seen him just get smashed by Jan, basically, for a couple, or laid on, whatever, decision and controlled for the last couple of rounds. So we don't know what Pereira brings. If he brings that kind of pressure, what if he does shoot, or not shoot, but ends up on top and just controls the fight that way? I mean, that's a possibility. Maybe. I don't think that happens, especially because these guys both have a very extensive kickboxing career. Pereira was a 2-time Glory champion. I mean, he achieved a lot in kickboxing after he had already beat Adesanya. So that's the thing too. When they fought back in the day, Izzy had way more experience in kickboxing or fighting, period, than Alex Pereira at that time. And Pereira started he was 22, 23 years old kickboxing. So having all that experience, but Pereira was able to still figure out a way to win. First fight was close, could have went either way. You can't say it was robbery either way, or you thought Izzy won or you thought Pereira won. It could have went either way. I mean, yeah, it looked like Izzy landed some better shots and stuff like that. Whatever, even if you give it to him, it was split decision. I get it, whatever. But either way, okay, he got the victory. Second fight, yeah, Izzy was looking better. First round, second fight, Alex Pereira came out a little bit more more intent on just being more in his face and just doing a lot more as far as just volume. That's the one thing about Pereira. He's definitely busier. He's throwing a lot of hard strikes, but he came out a little bit more than Izzy started countering him and doing a lot of things that he did well in the first fight. So it kind of stopped Pereira a little bit, and you can see where first round could go either way, second round maybe Izzy, whatever. But all that doesn't matter, because in that third round, Pereira was able to weather whatever Izzy had as far as eating shots when you have to eat shots, parrying them or getting out of the way just enough, or basically leading. He does a really good job of leading his opponents into that left hand, and maybe he's throwing the right, or even just kind of pushing their head, whatever, with the right, kind of leading them into that power. And a lot of times he'll go to the body with that, because he does go to the body a lot. He don't only headhunt, and I think that's smart against someone like Izzy, almost kind of a la Mayweather in boxing. A lot of guys just headhunt with him, and he can sit back all day with his Philly shout, throw that elbow in your face as you get in closer, and just roll with that, throw that right hand and dip, and come back with a right hand counter himself. Okay, well, that's all. When you're headhunting, he has that capabilities, but if you're throwing that left hook to the body or that overhand right, maybe you feint that overhand right to get that reaction out of him to dip, throw the left hook to the body instead of the head, you might land some here and there. I mean, he's still like Floyd Mayweather anyway. He's still a GOAT, one of the best defensive fighters of all time. So you still might not land a lot, but you have a better chance of landing if you're just changing up just that tactic and not headhunt. But he talks shit. He does this. You just want to punch the fucker in his face, and that's part of the strategy as well, I think. And I think that actually works for Izzy a little too, where that's part of his strategy, where he kind of talks his little game, or because he's having a lot of confidence for being, beat twice and knocked out in the last fight. So yeah, that's the one thing that's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, you have a lot of confidence. You're talking a lot of shit for getting your ass beat twice, or not really ass beat, but getting caught. And that's all it takes with Alex. All it takes is one shot, one kill. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, if this guy isn't the perfect fucking like cartel hitman looking guy and a villain in a movie, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like Narcos, whatever, fucking any of these Netflix shows or whatever, cartel type dudes, there's always some fucking evil fucking villain boss. Well, this guy is always, and there's always a right-hand man who does all the dirty work, a killer who's just silent and just looking there, just fucking pissed off all the time and just ready to take orders and torture motherfuckers and just looking scary as fuck. And this is this guy. I mean, if there's not a more fucking scary-looking guy in the UFC or anywhere, I mean, I don't know what is at this point. I mean, this is a thing I actually stole from I stole this from Dan Hardy. Sorry, Dan. You are the man, Dan. Dan Hardy, you're the man. This is off his little thing. I just took this. I did listen to some of his breakdown, which he's always good. The Outlaw. He's dope. But one thing, looking at this tail of the tape that hit in his version, which is way more telling than anything I'm going to produce. But, I just really, you got to look at the striking. I mean, the striking defense, yes, that's there. But if you look at the striking accuracy, 60% for Alex Pereira. Yeah, he doesn't have as many fights as Izzy right now in the UFC. But I think there was a fight. I'm not sure if it was against Silva or what it was. It was War, but he literally landed, I can't remember what fight it was, but I seen a stat where he landed 75% of his fucking strikes. And this, as hard as this guy hits, I mean, if you look at striking defense, Izzy's is pretty damn good. He's 59%. And Pereira's 58. So, I mean, they're right there. They're even. They show that they're pretty even. But when it comes to the accuracy, that's 49% for Izzy, 60 for Alex. Okay. And you see the strikes per minute, whatever. Alex is definitely landing more. That shows that he's a lot busier and he's accurate. Izzy's throwing a lot of little fillers out there. He throws a lot of little leg kicks and a lot of stuff just to keep distance. So he's wasting strikes here and there just to get reactions and just to get your timing down. So it's not just like he's trying to sit back on every fucking punch. Alex Pereira doesn't really waste many punches. Other than that, they're pretty even. You look at the takedowns, all that, takedown defense. They're not. I don't think that they're going to try to take down, anything like that. But, yeah, sorry, I took this picture earlier after. Yeah, so that's the main thing for me. I just see this guy. I mean, is he not going to hit? You got 5 rounds. Are you not going to be able to hit Izzy in 5 rounds? I mean, when you got way more accuracy, it's just, that's what it comes down to. When you look at the freaking reach, when it's just that 1 inch disadvantage, and other guys have been able to hit Izzy who don't have anywhere near the striking capabilities of Pereira. Like Alex, like what I like about him, he's so efficient with his strikes. He throws a lot of power for sure, but he's so accurate. I mean, if you look at what he did with the fucking bow and arrow, dude, he kicked the soccer ball, grabs the bow, and hits the soccer ball. Okay, that's some savage shit for sure, right? But what that shows is that hand-eye coordination and accuracy, and that translates to throwing a fucking punch and hitting the target in the face. You know, that if you look at his fights, he's always looking, his head's always up and looking at the target where he's going to hit. And his accuracy level, it's not going to take much with him. You know, that's the thing. Like, Izzy could do his little, I don't think he's going to be able to do his, I mean, yeah, he could pick him apart for a while. He can change it up. He could throw leg kicks. He could be quicker and elusive. But when you got a guy that already knocked you out unconscious, he's like, Pereira's coming, he's riding high on this. And even though he says he's trying to forget those first 2 fights, he definitely, they have to be there to know that I've taken this guy's power and I've been able to just put his lights out with mine and set him up for that, which shows this a higher IQ even of the fighting, or just as high, same level, to be able to even set him up for that shot. It just shows that he's at least at the level, or if not higher, than Adesanya in the kickboxing realm. Yeah, it's MMA is different. It's not the same, but it's not like Adesanya is going out there throwing double legs, shooting double legs, and you know, throwing up all kinds of like flying triangles and shit either. You know, so I mean, he's basically doing what he does in there with some takedown defense. So I mean, I don't know, man. Like I've been like when they first announced this fight, I for sure I was saying Pereira all the way, just because he's basically a bigger, stronger, or just as big, like definitely looks stronger type dude. Looks like his intent is to kill everything. He throws with bad intentions, but it's the accuracy that really gets me. I mean, this guy runs from across the cage in other kickboxing fights and in MMA, and he could just throw a jumping knee like so freaking accurate and land it like almost like it's a jab or overhand right or something. Not a whole lot of wind up, so even if he does miss it, it's not like he's so crazy out of position and off balance and everything. Like everything's perfect with him as far as balance, his range, having his feet where they need to be, his footwork, which I feel like he could cut off the cage. And when he does turn up the pace, that's the thing too. Like against Adesanya, he's not the like Blitzkrieg, you know, young Vitor type pressure. But when he does turn up the pace, he's throwing a lot of strikes, and all his strikes are with purpose, like either to land or to set up for a bigger shot. And I mean, I just think the IQ there as far as striking. If this is a straight up kickboxing match, obviously it's 4-ounce gloves. I mean, I don't see how Adesanya could not get hit for 5 rounds. Where for someone like Pereira, it only takes 1. Like Adesanya has been able to damage and pick apart these guys who aren't at the level striking wise of either of these guys, and they've been able to survive the rounds or keep going. They're like, even against Cannonier, it's kind of like I was saying, like you're that much better, and he's not really doing enough to try and take your bout. Then why don't you just put him away and take that chance and do what you got to do, you know, and put him out. I mean, whether he's a tough guy or not, everybody in the UFC is tough. Sometimes they're too tough for their own good, but at the same time, it's like when you put him away, dude. It's like, you know what I mean? You got a freaking Viper, you know, and a Volkswagen racing, and you're dicking around. I mean, just smash them. You know, it's done. It's not even a race. It's fucking ridiculous, you know, even to be there. That's kind of how this is, you know. So, I mean, I just see, I'm picking out Pereira. I'm going on a limb because, you know, this is MMA, and Izzy has been dominant, or he's been winning, you know. I mean, not the most exciting fashion all the time. I'm a fan. I like what he does. He moves. He's slick. You know, he's really good. But, like, the thing that does give me, like I was just saying, like, if you're that much better than your opponent, then take him out. Get him out of there. You know, you had Dan Henderson and Cormier when they fought, obviously, towards the end of Dan Henderson's career, and he was a decorated wrestler, you know, and all that as well. Olympic caliber, just like Cormier, but a different style of wrestling. But at the same time, you know, when they clinched up, like DC was able to just toss him around, you know, and that shows that there's levels of it. If you're that much better than someone in a certain thing, then just exploit it. Same thing with Tatiana, I was talking about earlier with Carla Esparza. Like, it was a different level of wrestling. She was able to just smother her and do whatever she wanted to. Woman handler, man handler, woman handler, you know. So I just feel like this is just that matchup. This is that guy. Like if Adesanya beats this guy, there's no one else beating him at middleweight unless once Bo Nickel levels up and or gets the fights, you know, because he could probably beat Adesanya now just with the grappling alone. If Jan could take him down to do that when Jan's not a wrestler, and Bo Nickel has wrestled at even a higher weight than middleweight, like 197 or some shit, you know. So I mean, he definitely could manhandle pretty much anyone in the division. So for sure, Adesanya, I mean, he could be champ right now. So I mean, that's the guy that's waiting in the wings, just like put me in, coach, I'm ready, you know, type thing like Khamzat was, and now Khamzat's right there. So Bo Nickel could be that guy too, and he's getting finishes. So I mean, by then, who knows? With these guys, they're both huge. They might be moving up. By the time Bo Nickel gets a couple more fights, Adesanya's talked about going back up to light heavyweight. So we'll see how that goes. He's wiped out this division pretty much. I mean, he's fought the who's and all these up and coming guys. He beat the guys, you know, the contenders. So that's why they're even making this fight, is because this guy is like that little monkey on his back, the shadow, you know, like just right there. This guy has fucked you up, you know, like, I know you're good, but we pulled this guy out of here. Like no one had heard of him before, but he fucked you up. So here he is, you know, just, it just is what it is. But I'm picking Pereira on this fight.